In 2023, moderator Barbara Gorski worked with the Presbytery staff to have it be a year of focus on Matthew 25 initiative. Matthew 25 commitment doesn't stop with the turning of the calendar to 2024. So we talked about the next steps. Should we continue with Matthew 25, or will they be a new focus for this year? We looked at scriptures and chose Micah 6:8, seeing how that verse ties so beautifully to Matthew 25 and the next steps. He has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. For me, the key to the Micah text is the verbs. It's the action words. To do justice. It's a strong seminal call to action, which includes to build, to dismantle, to eradicate, and to rebuild anew. It's not enough just to talk about Matthew 25. It's about doing Matthew 25. We are called to walk the walk. To love kindness or mercy, to love is to embrace, share, and fight for what is loved. To love kindness is a call, and it leaves no room for racism or systemic poverty, the calls we hear in the Matthew 25 initiative. But it calls for understanding of one another. And it's important to realize that often kindness is just the simple act of listening. Acclaimed theologian and ethicist Reinhold Niebuhr, who graduated from Elmhurst College just a few blocks from here, said, "Nothing we do, however important, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love." To walk humbly with God is a call for us to get out from behind the doors of the church and to walk among the people, to share the good news of kindness and justice. It calls for us to learn from each other, to share our good news. Niebuhr's brother, H. Richard Niebuhr, a renowned theological ethicist in his own right, was the president of Elmhurst College for 4 years, and his biggest concern was how humans relate to God, to their communities, and to the world. Richard believed that the context of our faith is how we relate to one another in the name of God. For me, the Matthew text is the how to the Micah call of what. Micah starts, "What is expected of you, O mortal?" And Matthew says, this is how you love. This is how you do justice. You feed the hungry. You clothe the naked. You provide shelter and comfort to the homeless and to the immigrant. The issue in Matthew, though, is one of selection, and we see that ever so present today. The people in the story were making a selection about who was worthy of food, drink, water, and shelter. They saw some people in need and passed by. It wasn't an inclusive call to faith. What we see today is much the same. Who's entitled to health care? Who's entitled to food or shelter? There are inequities in our justice system and battles over immigration and homelessness. Our society spends so much time on who is worthy of the resources that we have. What saddens me, though, is that in our national debate in 2024, it is often evangelical Christians who are at the microphone of the selection debate. In his book, Christians Against Christianity, Aubrey M. Hendricks Jr. uses Matthew 25 as the baseline for measuring if today's politicized evangelism meets the true criteria of the Christian message. He says it's a litmus test by which we should measure our call to faith. And in his foreword, Hendricks tells of his upbringing in the church and uses a beautiful metaphor. What I witnessed, he said, at home and in church was unstinting decency by people who would willfully hurt no one and would pray for anyone. Large-hearted folks who did their daily best to plant gardens of grace that they nurtured with the nectar of goodwill, if not outright love. I love that image. Gardens of grace nurtured by the nectar of goodwill by large-hearted folks. Isn't that the church that we're called to be? The hungry are fed with the crops of the garden of grace. The thirsty drank from the water that made the garden grow. Large-hearted folks, the kind that clothe the naked, that visit the prisoner and welcome the sojourner, all using the nectar of goodwill. Matthew 25 text, the passage from Micah, the metaphor from Hendricks came spinning together and spoke to me, no dare I say shouted at me, and said, this is what we are called as Christians. We're called into action and to use the title of that hymn so that they will know we are Christians by our love. Do they know? Will they know we are Christians? So the question before us is about our call to faith, which is firmly rooted in Matthew and Micah. Where do we start? How can we help and what can we learn? And to be honest, what's the role of Presbytery in helping each congregation reach their potential? What can we do as a mid-council to drive action and results? One of our key focuses for the Presbytery this year is to imagine how we do assembly and possibly trickle those learnings down to committees and commissions. You've seen it already today with this hybrid. I often tell people that one of my favorite things about being Presbyterian is we are a connectional church. That's a feature behind what we're looking to do, to use assembly for time to connect with each other more than we've done in the past, to find time to share together in smaller groups about the joys and challenges that are facing each of us, and to help each other. So many churches are facing similar issues. So think of the power of the assembly if we can share what's working and share what's not. Highlight the successes and see if those can translate into victories for other persons, other churches. You know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel when we have such a wealth of experience right here in the Presbytery of Chicago. Let's not talk about pre-Presbytery as if it isn't a consequential item. By including times to gather in smaller groups and sharing as a part of Presbytery assembly, it gives it the weight of importance that it should have. We've heard from many of you how precious those discussion times are, and for many, it's their favorite part of our gathering together. The business still needs to get done, make no doubt, and it needs to be addressed, and as Presbyterians, orderly. But we're looking to find a balance that's consequential. Change is never easy. Charles Kettering said, the world hates change, yet it's the only thing that has brought us progress. So we embark on trying new things. Some will work, some will not. We ask you to be an active participant in these changes and to let us know what's working for you. What can we do better? And yes, what can we shed? Change isn't done in a vacuum, but collaboration, vision, and energy can do amazing things, and we're ready to do amazing things in the Presbytery of Chicago. So as we walk into 2024, we continue with Matthew 25, being a call to action and not just a statement. We are called to do, we are called to love, and we are called to walk outside of the buildings, out into the community, and to be agents of change within the Presbytery, within our own congregations, our neighborhoods, and yes, the world at large. If we do those things, people will truly know that we are Christians by our love. Matthew 25 will come to life as people will see us doing justice, loving kindness, and being active, walking humbly with God. I am so excited about the possibilities that lay before us, the potential for creativity to transform our experiences and increase our visibility. We're well aware that the need is there and the time is now. So the question is, do you have the faith to heed the call to action? Thanks be to God for transformative grace that is nurtured by the nectar of goodwill. Amen.